Hello guys, Smart Poly here, welcome back to another video. So today I will be continuing the multi-biome open world map tutorial series by showing you guys how to modify our material to add better texture variation. I will also show you how to set up the whole material using material functions, which makes things a lot cleaner. And we will also set up procedural grass that will spawn directly on top of the material for our grasslands biome. If you guys haven't watched the part 1 yet, that's completely fine. I actually deleted my project by accident when I was cleaning out my hard drive, so I ended up having to redo the entire landscape material and re-importing the landscape again. So I'll show you guys how to do that very quickly in this video, and with material functions, it'll be a lot easier. Alright, so first of all, we're starting here in the base project, which is this splash example map. This is an independent branch of the Community Ocean project that works with a normal binary build of Unreal Engine 4.25, so it'll work with the version of Unreal that you have downloaded from the launcher. So just go ahead, download the project, unzip it, and open it up. Okay, then you want to get Quixel Megascans as well. I'll be using materials from Quixel Megascans for free. And I will show you how to set up your landscape material real fast using the material functions. So real quick, material functions are what allow us to transform this mess into this. It gives us a lot more control over the materials, which we will need later when we set up macro and micro variations in our materials. So first up, I'm going to show you guys which materials you're going to need for our landscape layer. So I have Quixel Bridge up here. First up, we have the dried grass on moss. So go ahead and make sure you have your engine version set properly, you have the plugin installed, and you set the export folder to your project content folder. We're going to use this dried grass on moss for our grass master layer. Just hit the export button. Okay, and then if you have the plugin installed, it'll just import it right into the engine. And then just go into the Megascans folder, the surfaces, the dried grass on moss that we just imported, and right click and add a new material function. Name it mf_grass_master. Basically what we're going to do is we're actually going to go and open up the other material that we imported. You want to scroll down to the bottom here and open up the master material. Okay, and when you're in there, you just want to basically copy everything, because we're just going to go ahead and paste it right into the material function. And then off of the material function, you want to drag and make material attributes. And this basically functions, as a normal material. Okay, so what we're going to do next is create our simple pixel depth fade between the larger tile texture with the up close texture. Add a pixel depth, subtract that by a constant variable of 5,000. Then add a divide and divide that by 7,500. Off of the divide, add a clamp to that. And then off the clamp, you're going to add a linear interpolate. Plug the clamp into the alpha. Okay, now you can copy and paste a couple more times the linear interpolate. Hook it up to the base color and hook the next one up to metallic. For the specular, you can use the specular parameter, and then for the roughness, and then for the normal. Okay, and then you want to hook up the clamp to each of the alphas for each of these. Okay, and then in the very back here, we're going to add a landscape coordinates. We're going to set the mapping scale to 5, and we'll hook these all up to the UVs of each of these. Then what we can go ahead and do, select the very first texture here. We're going to go back in our content browser and select the albedo, and then in the bottom left you can scroll down and hit this little side arrow, and that will change the texture there to the one that we have selected in our content browser. So we'll just go ahead and do this again for the roughness and then for the normal, and then once we've got that all changed, we can hook up the first linear interpolate into the A, and then we can hook up the metallic into the metallic A, and the roughness in the roughness A, and then the normal into the normal A. Then we're just going to basically copy and paste everything down at the bottom and hook it up again, but for the B's. First the linear interpolate into the B, the metallic into the metallic B, the roughness in the roughness B, and then the normal into the normal B. We're going to have to change the landscape layer coordinates here, and we're going to set it to a mapping scale of 100. Okay, now this is basically the material setup. So you can basically just copy this and paste this in every material that you make. So next up, we're going to go ahead and export a few more materials. We're going to get the Thai beach sand 2x2 meters. Go ahead and download that and export it. Once it's exported, we're going to go into the folder, make a new material function, name it mf_sand. Okay, then open it up, and inside we're just going to paste everything that we had in the grass master and hook that up. Okay, now all we have to do is swap out the first 3 textures, the albedo, roughness, and normal, and we'll automatically do it for the 3 textures at the very bottom as well. So just select the texture in your content browser, and then hit the little down arrow back in the material function, and you can just swap those out really easy like that. Okay, and save it, and basically we're just going to repeat this process for the rest of the materials that we need to grab. Next up is the clover patches on grass. So go ahead and download that and export that in. Create a new material function, name this hills d grass. Paste everything in there, change the albedo, the roughness, and the normal. Next up, we're going to use the same material function, just duplicate it, and rename this to hills L grass for hills light grass. The backend bridge, we're going to download and export this slate rock. Okay, and then once in there, create a new material function, name it hills rock. Open that up, paste everything in, switch out the textures, and then save that. Okay, and then next up, we're going to go into the dry grass on moss, to our grass master. We're going to duplicate this and rename this to Mount D grass, and duplicate it again. We're going to rename this Mount L grass. And then next up, back into the slate rock, we're going to go ahead and duplicate the material function and rename this Mount Rock. Of course, you can always use different materials if you want for these different layers, but if you want it to look exactly like mine, you can do what I'm doing, and you can always change these out later. So, okay. And then next up, we're going to go back to Quixel and get the soil sandy. Alright, once that's imported, it's going to be called this muddy ground. Just right click in the folder, create a new material function. You're going to name this Canyon Bot, paste everything in there, and change out all the textures. Okay, next up we're going to get this rock cliff. Go ahead, download that, export it. Once it's exported, create a new material function, name this Canyon Top, paste everything in, swap out all the materials. Alright, and then we're going to get the layered rock cliff, export that, create a new material function. You're going to name this Canyon Side, and then inside that, we're going to paste everything and change out the materials again. Then we're going to go into our grass master again, duplicate that one more time, and create forest bot. And then we're going to go back into Quixel and get wild grass, export that in the folder, create a new material function, name that forest top, paste everything in, swap out all the textures, and save that. Now we are good to go. We have all of our material functions here. So what we can go ahead and do is create a new m_landscape material. In the material, we're going to add a landscape layer blend, and it's going to have a total of 13 layers. You can add more layers if you want, and you can always add them later on. But for now, I'm just going to stick to the 13 that we have set up. For the first material, you're going to name this grass master, and you want to make sure you set this to the alpha blend. Very important that you at least set one of them as the alpha blend. Okay, the rest you can leave it as the normal weight blend, but we're going to name the second one sand, the third one hills D grass, and then the next one hills light hills L grass, then the fifth one hills rocks, the sixth one Mount D grass, the next one Mount L grass, the next one Mount Rock, the next one Canyon Bot, the next one Canyon Top, the next one Canyon Side, Forest Bot, and then Forest Top. Okay, so it should look all like this. And if you need to pause the video, you can go ahead and do that. Then you just hook that up to your material and then go back into your content browser, and then you can filter it by material function and then just select everything and drag it into your m_landscape. So go ahead and sort everything by name. The grass and the grass, the sand and the sand, hills grass and the hills grass, and so on. So just go ahead and hook all of those up. And once you're all finished with that, you can actually hook up the layer blend into the metallic, specular, roughness, and normal. Alright, go ahead and save that, and that's it. you're done. This is the best thing about material functions, is that you can basically nest materials in materials, which allows you to have, more flexibility and obviously a lot less of a hassle when you have, a 13 layered landscape material. Okay, so what we can go ahead and do now is we're going to go into our scene here. What you want to do is create a new folder. I'm just going to name it multi-biome map and drag the level right into there. You want to do this because when you enable world composition, it's going to try to pull these other levels, and we don't want that. Go back into your project here, and then go to window and open up the world settings window, and then check right here the enable world composition. Then go to your levels tab right here. If you don't have it, just go to Windows and then open up the levels tab. Click this little button that will open up world composition. Then click here, the select height map files. And if you guys don't have the project files, the link will be to download this in the description below. Okay, and then just select all of the raw 16 files here. It should be a total of 99 tiles. Once that's done, switch the material out here with our m_landscape. Should see a total of 13 layers here. Then basically we're going to click on the select height map tiles for each material and go into the folder that you downloaded and search Grass Master. Control A and then open those. Then we're going to do the same for each layer. They're all named the same, so for sand just search beach sand. Then for hills degrass, just search hills degrass, and so on. Just go ahead and do this for each layer, making sure that you select the proper names, and they're all named the same, so just make sure that it all says 99 height maps for each layer. Okay, once you have all those set up, you can go ahead and click the import button. Now this will go ahead and import all of our landscape tiles, as well as it'll paint all of the materials onto our landscape, and this might take a couple minutes. Alright, now that we're in here and we have it all finished, you want to make sure you have your world composition outliner here, and I'm just going to select everything and load everything. You don't have to load the entire thing, you can load it in portions, but basically I'm just going to move the landscape and center it in our map, as well as move the ocean up. It just took a few minutes to load here, but we have it loaded up. Okay, it's going to compile the shaders. I'm going to move it here to the center, and again it might freeze because it's just thinking for a little bit. Okay, so we have it here loaded up now. I'm just going to go ahead and grab the ocean and move it up to the proper level here, right about there. Okay, and your ocean might be a little bit more wavy, and I will show you how to tweak the ocean wavelengths parameters in a second. So that looks about good right there. I can play here and the ocean level looks good. Okay, so primarily what I'm going to focus on in this video is right here. When we click play in our grasslands area, you can see that the texture on the ground is pretty much like the same repeating texture over and over, and there's really no variation to it. So I'm going to show you guys how to basically add, a micro variation or, different coloration, maybe like dark patches of grass, simply by just modifying the material. Okay, so first up, what I'm going to do is add new content packs, starter content, and basically I'm going to go into the grass right here, and this material actually has some textures that we can use for micro variation and macro variation. This basically allows us to add, darker patches of grass here and there, as well as different colored patches of grass, just to break up our material. So go ahead and open it up. We're just going to go ahead and copy the micro texture variation here. Add a lerp, and then we're going to copy and paste the macro variation here as well. And then copy and paste this. Okay, and here we're going to swap out, we'll hook the lerp up into the A, into the multiply, and then multiply into the A. Okay, and then we're going to hook the macro into the B. And then we're going to go ahead and actually delete that. Okay, and then you can hook this right up into our lerp right there. You can also expand the triangle here so you can see the material. And then see it adds a little bit of variation. We're going to add a little bit, a few more things here. So if we get our macro texture variation, copy and paste that right in. We can also hook that up into the B of the lerp. And then I'm going to go ahead and actually just delete or swap this one out here with the clover patches on grass here. And then we're going to go ahead and hook that up to the bee. If we save everything and hit play from here, you can see that it breaks up the grass a little bit more and adds, darker patches of grass here and there. Alright, so you can basically play around with the vector parameters as well to add, a different tint to some of the grass if you want some patches of it to be yellow, or if you want it to be more of a darker green, you can always adjust that in there. Okay, next up I want to show you guys how to add procedural grass onto your material here. And you can follow this technique to add really any procedural foliage as long as it's, smaller than the character. So like you could add twigs, rocks, little pebbles and stuff like that. Okay, so just go into your landscape material. You're going to add a landscape grass output, and then you're going to add a landscape layer sample. And then basically the layer sample, you want to change the name to Hills D Grass. So this name will directly correspond with whatever material function you want to spawn the grass onto. So for example, I'm spawning it on the Hills Dark Grass material, so that's where the grass is going to spawn. Okay, as for the actual grass mesh, I'm going to be using this temperate vegetation optimized grass library here from the Unreal Marketplace. It's under the permanently free collection, so it's completely free for you guys to use. So just download that and add that to your project. And then what we're going to go ahead and do is right click in your content browser and go under foliage, landscape grass type, and name this Hills D Grass. Okay, and then we can go to our PN grass library, and in the foliage types we have all the different grass that we can use. So if you go ahead and open up your Hills D Grass, or landscape foliage type that we just made, you can see it has this little window here we can expand. It has a input here for a mesh for our grass. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is use this grass 01, or actually into the grass meshes here I'm going to be using the grass 01. Select that, and then also in the landscape material you want to select your grass right here, and in the bottom left you want to expand the little window, and you're going to choose the grass type, Hills D Grass, the landscape grass type. Okay, go ahead and save that. Okay, and then I'm going to add a few more different types of grass on our landscape. So you can choose whatever meshes you want, but I'm going to just choose these right here. And then you adjust the grass density to adjust how much grass is going to populate on top of that material. So usually 80 is going to, leave still these like little patches open, and generally 40 is pretty good if you're having, more than 3 or 4 different grass types. Okay, so these are the different ones I chose here. And then as you can see, it's going to build the grass maps, and it's still compiling shaders. So in our scene here, you can see that we start to have different grass here on top of our landscape. Okay, so you can also adjust the scale, how it's going to randomly scale. So you can set min and max values. I just basically change it to the minimum of 2 and a maximum of 3. So this allows it to have a little bit taller variation in our grass. So I basically set all of them to minimum of 2 and maximum of 3. And for the smaller grass, I set it to a minimum of 1 and a maximum of 2. Okay, and I also added one more grass type, and I gave it a grass density of 100. So this will more or less populate the entire floor, so the entire floor at least has some more grass. Alright, so we're just going to let it all build. And as you can see, things are looking pretty good. So you guys can always play around with how much grass you want it on top of your landscape. And you can also play around with the scaling, the random scaling of it as well. You can see things are looking pretty good. I can go ahead and run around my scene. The skylight here is actually the ultra dynamic sky. I'll have to show you guys that in a second. The grass here is looking pretty good. I might adjust, some of the blades here that are way too tall, but overall everything looks pretty good, and it's not too much, amount of grass. So obviously you can add, different other types of foliage, like say little pebbles and rocks. You can assign these to whatever layers you want. So for example, on some of the hills rocks, you can spawn some pebbles on those, and then on maybe like the beach sand, you can spawn like some twigs or some like seaweed or something on that using the foliage type. In the desert, you can spawn like little cactuses and just little shrubs, you know, in the desert canyons area. So guys, just go ahead and play around with this, add different types of foliage for your different layers. There's a lot of good grass that you can grab from the marketplace under the permanently free collection, and you can also grab some grass from the Quixel Bridge. They also have some assets there. So for the lighting, I'm actually using the Ultra Dynamic Sky, which I got off the marketplace, and it's pretty good. It has, you know, a full day and night cycle. Basically, it's just a skybox. You just drag and drop it. I'm just using this temporarily for now until the volumetric clouds get out of experimental. So it's just a really nice touch to the map and the ocean. As far as the ocean settings, I want to show you guys real quick what I have set up here. So basically, the most important parameters that I've messed with here are I've messed with the roughness, kind of decreased the amount of foam that the ocean is showing, as well as at the very bottom here, one of the most important parts is under the ocean, under the wave clusters array. I've basically removed everything except for one array. These are my settings here for the length, amplitude, and steepness of the waves. If you guys want to get these same settings as I do, just copy the values that I have here, or you can play around with it. And then up at the very top again, you can see I also messed around with the foam settings here. I also messed with the tessellation multiplier here, which is important for how high resolution you want your ocean. I cranked this all the way down to save a lot of memory. And as you can see here, when you hit play, you can see the wireframe mode. You can see the resolution of the ocean. Now this ocean in particular isn't the very best when it comes to optimization. It basically needs a better LOD system, but I mean, it is what it is. I'll probably just use it for now until the new ocean comes out in 4.26. Okay, so that's pretty much it, guys, for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and the next part we'll probably be talking about procedurally spawning some trees and some large rocks and things onto our landscape to populate our forest, and maybe, you know, we'll make a few more other tutorials talking about landscape LODs and optimizing your landscape. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.